Hello everyone, welcome to February monthly market dynamic sharing. I'm Ricky from Market Analysis Department from Jinko Solar. So first of all, let's take a global look about the electricity demand, which is by the recent report released by the IEA. So global electricity demand rose by 4.3% in 2024, and is forecasted to continue to grow at close to 4% out to 2027. Over the next 3 years, global electricity consumption is forecast to rise by an unprecedented 3,500 terawatt-hour. This corresponds to adding more than the equivalent of Japan to the world's electricity consumption each year. This is also a sharp acceleration over the 2.5% increase in 2023. So when strong gains in China, India, Southeast Asia were tempered by declines in advanced economies, most of the additional demand for electricity through 2027 will come from emerging economies, which are expected to make up 85% of the growth. More than half of the global electricity demand growth in 2024 came from China, where it grew by 7% in 2024, similar to the previous year. Electricity demand in China is forecasted to increase on average by 6% annually out to 2027. India, Southeast Asian countries, and other emerging markets are also expected to record strong demand growth, supported by economic expansion and rising air conditioners ownership. Okay, after the global situation, let's have a closer look about what happens on the European countries. So the first one is about Germany. Germany has introduced a new photovoltaic subsidy policy known as the Solar Spitzenscheme, scheme, which makes significant adjustments to the feed-in tariff for photovoltaic systems. So under this policy, when the electricity market price turns negative, the PV feed-in tariff will be set to zero. This policy not only adjusts the subsidy mechanism, but also paves a new way for grid load management. The bill was passed by the German parliament on January 31, 2025, and is expected to come into effect in March 2025. So key changes brought by this Solar Spitzenscheme Act was listed as below. So the first, according to the new regulation, newly constructed PV system without a smart meter will be limited to feed in only up to 60% of their rated power into the grid. The measure is designed to prevent grid overload on particular sunny days due to uncontrollable PV generation. So when the electricity market price turns negative, the PV feed-in tariff will be zero. In 2024, there were almost 457 hours of negative electricity prices. And another country is about Italy. Italy always ranked the first, top 3 countries in the Europe renewable development. So on February 28th, the related association in Italy released the installation data for the year 2024. So in 2024, Italy added approximately 6.8 gigawatts for new PV installation, representing a 31% year-on-year increase compared to 2023. So the growth was primarily driven by commercial and industrial installation, as well as utility-scale projects. In particular, projects with a capacity of over 10 megawatts saw an almost threefold increase. In recent months, Italy has introduced relevant subsidy policies for domestic manufacturing and power generation. In terms of domestic manufacturing, PV modules manufactured in Europe with an efficiency of over 24% are eligible for 150% tax credit. So facing one of the new growing markets in Europe, Meyerberger, a Germany manufacturer, almost well known before as the equipment supplier, recently announced that its Germany-made modules meet the requirement for subsidies in Italy. This will support its subsequent shipment to Italy through IBC Solar, the distributor in Italy. Okay, and the next is about Spain. On February 30th, according to the data from APPA, Spain added 1.431 gigawatts of new photovoltaic installation for self-consumption in 2024. Including both industrial and residential sectors. This represents a 26% year-over-year decrease, marking the second consecutive year of decline. So the main reason is the fluctuation of electricity prices. In 2024, Spain saw its electricity prices hit record lows, with negative electricity prices testing for 247 hours throughout the whole year. Some reports also indicated that due to the potential restrictive on Spain's electricity exports by France during peak solar power especially, generation periods, Spain might experience even more hours of negative electricity prices this year. So whether the energy storage business in Spain can unleash its potential in the future is worth paying attention to. Japan will, after the Europe, the next is about the most premium market in the Asia. So Japan will target to achieve like between 40% and 15% renewable energy share in its total electricity mix by 2040 under its 7th strategic energy plan that has been approved by its cabinet. This will be an increase from the 22.9% it reached in fiscal year 2023, making renewable the center of its energy system. Solar is the key focus technology among renewable. According to the plan shared by the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industrial, which is, you can call it like METI, considering the lack of suitable locations for solar in island nation, the governmental aims to promote flexible and lightweight solutions under the next generation solar cell strategy. So by 2040, it aims to introduce like 20 gigawatts of perovskite solar cell capacity to promote its installation on roofs and building walls with low load-bearing capacity. So commenting on the Japanese new energy plan, the independent think tank Renewable Energy Institute, REI, expressed disappointment as it believes more than 19% of the country's electricity can be supplied by renewable in 2040 to trustee ensure low-cost and self-sufficient energy supply. Driven by massive deployment of wind and solar power, it explained that the power generation mix in the approved 7th Strategic Energy Plan requires large amounts of hydrogen, ammonia, and CCS to decarbonize thermal power generation, which is to provide 30 to 40% of the power. This will make the cost of power generation higher than in a scenario with more than 90% of renewables. Okay. And the next country of Asia is about Vietnam, which is have a very good performance in 2020, but after that they have seen some weak, but now the new driven factors has coming. So the Ministry of Industry and Trade released a draft report on February 4th for public comments that includes proposed revisions to the Power Development Plan. It's supposed to be the 8th edition. So which outlines Vietnam's electricity capacity addition by 2030 and 2050. So the amendments suggest that increasing capacity addition for all renewable technologies and energy storage, except for offshore wind, Vietnam could see large-scale solar project dominates its renewable power capacity additions out to the end of the decade. As the government revises its long-term power sector plans until 2050, utility-scale solar is the biggest winner in the latest draft, with 23.8 gigawatts planned between 2025 and 2030, followed by energy storage, including pumped hydro and batteries, of course, with an addition like 12% 6 gigawatts. So in contrast, offshore wind faces like setback as the 6 gigawatts target by 2030 under the current PDP will be delayed to 2035. So the country aims to commission 22.5 gigawatts of liquefied natural gas power projects by 2030. But the pipeline is significantly behind the schedule. Bloomberg New Energy Format expects that as much as 5 gigawatts of gas-fueled power capacity to commission by the end of the decade. So furthermore, we see the Vietnam intends to limit coal power addition to 2 gigawatts between now and 2030, and had committed to not including any new coal plants after 2030, to align with its target of net zero by mid-century. Okay, so now it's emerging economy that we mentioned at the beginning of our speech today. So the country's Bangladesh currently imposes like high important taxes, like 26% on solar panels, 37% on inverters, and of course 58% on mounting structures, which hinder renewable energy development. So, and the new draft released by the Renewable Energy Policy 2025 proposed that waiving these import duties on renewable energy, components and raw materials. Renewable energy projects commissioned between July 1st, 2025 and June 30th, 2013 will be fully exempted from the corporate income tax for the first 10 years, with partial exemption for the next 5 years, 50% for the first 3 years, and 25% for the last 2 years. So Bangladesh is speeding up its renewable energy transition, as seen in the large-scale solar tenders launched by the Bangladesh Power Development Board, including a 1.78 gigawatt tender with a bid and deadline of the end of March 2025. Okay, so after the Asian country, the next is about the North American market. So the U.S. Energy Information Administration, which is also known as the EIA, has forecast 63 gigawatts of new utility-scale electricity generating project additions in 2025, led by solar PV, of course. More than half, 52% in forecast to come from utility-scale solar, with like 32.5 gigawatts as well, which added a record 30 gigawatts in 2024. According to data from the EIA, these numbers would be similar to estimates from the American Clean Power Association in November 2024, when it predicted the United States to add 32 gigawatts of utility-scale solar PV in 2024. Nearly a third of all solar PV additions in 2025 will come from Texas. So as for the northern states with like 11.6 gigawatts, this is nearly 4 times that of the second place state, California, which is forecasted to add 2.9 gigawatts of solar PV. So both states will account for nearly half of the utility-scale solar PV additions in 2025. Despite, after America, that's supposed to be the last one. So let's talk about something about ESS. Despite a 20% year-on-year fall in the capacity of newly submitted planning specific application in 2024, there is still a strong interest in the United Kingdom about energy storage market as a whole. Over 42 gigawatt hour was added to the overall pipeline from screening and scoping submissions without corresponding full applications. Last year, this is the data from last year, okay? So most of the pipeline changes so far in 2025 have occurred at this stage also, with over 4 gigawatt hours submitted in 2025 to date. Regarding full applications, over 1.6 gigawatt hour of capacity has been submitted so far in 2025, an increase of 10% compared to the same period last year, of course. Over 43 gigawatt hour was approved in 2024, and an increase of 35% from 2023. And this year has already seen over 8.9 gigawatt hour of approvals, including one of the largest consented projects in the United Kingdom so far. Although high levels of submitted capacity the previous year did help to increase approval capacity in 2024, the decision times appears to be shortening from the over 9 months average decision time for 2023 submissions. Around 19 gigawatt hour of projects are currently under construction, accounting for like 17% of the approved projects. Despite it only being the start of the year, over 140 megawatt hour has already been completed, and with over 17 gigawatt hour of grid connections due to the connected in the 2025. So the build out of this year and in 2026 is looking promising. Okay, I think that will be all for today's monthly sharing. Thanks for your time. Have a good time.